people will not make it past the first minute of this video. Most people are not ready for what I'm about to say. But you came here for a reason. You clicked on this link. You're still here, which means something. It means you're different. It means you already feel what I'm about to tell you deep down, and you've sensed it your entire life. You've probably noticed it before, that feelings that something just isn't right. Maybe you sat in a classroom, staring at the clock, wondering why you were learning things you'd never really use in real life. Maybe you've worked a job you hated, feeling trapped, questioning if this was really all life had to offer. Maybe you scrolled through the news feeling like you were being lied to, but couldn't quite put your finger on how. It's not paranoia. That's your mind trying to wake you up. Maybe you've had moments where you felt like the world was off, that things don't add up. No matter how hard you work, things just don't get easier. Your brain is wired for survival. It's designed to recognize patterns, and when something doesn't make sense, when something feels unnatural, and if you've ever felt like the world itself is unnatural, that's because it is. If you're new here, my name is Len Cook, and this is the Maverick Mind, a place for those who refuse to be controlled, who see the cracks in the system, and who want to break free. If you're still watching, it's because something inside you already knows the truth. Right now, whether you realize it or not, you're in a cult, yes. Not a small fringe group, not a bizarre sect hidden away in the mountains. No, this cult is bigger than any religion, bigger than any nation. It's the cult of the system. And like any cult, it has rules, beliefs, and punishments for those who dare question it. Think about it. What happens when someone questions authority? They're labeled a troublemaker, they're ridiculed, they're shunned. Why? The system doesn't punish you with whips and chains. It punishes you with debt, social isolation, and fear. It trains you to police yourself so you never step outside the lines. It convinces you that questioning things make you crazy, that real change is impossible, and that anyone who dares try to show you the truth is a danger to society. But today, I'm going to give you the key. The question is, are you brave enough to use it? Let that hit for a moment, because once you wake up fully, you can never go back. So if you're happy in the bubble that you are in right now, live in the life that you are, stop this video and do not watch the rest of this. But if you feel compelled and you know there's something wrong, then you need to listen to this and you need to pay attention. What if I told you that from the moment you were born, you were placed inside a system designed to control you? What if I told you that your education, your career, your media, your money, none of it was meant to serve you? What if I told you that the world you live in was not built to make you ever free, but to make you obedient? That's the part they don't want you to see. The perfect slave is the one who doesn't even recognize that they're a slave. Society is literally designed to keep you blind. Every society has a foundation. Some are built on freedom, others on power. Ours are built on control. Control through information. They decide what you learn, what you know, and what you can never question. They control you through fear. You are kept in a constant state of worry about money, about security, about fitting in. Control through distraction. Endless entertainment, news cycles, and trends exist to make sure you never have time to really stop and think. Ever notice how no one has time anymore? That's not by accident. It's by design. If you're exhausted from working 40 plus hours a week, barely keeping up with the bills, and numbing yourself with TV or social media at the end of the day, you have no energy left to wake up. What if you start asking questions? We're going to talk about the 5 stages of a cult. Imagine waking up in the middle of a cult. You were born into it. Everyone you know is part of it. They tell you it's normal, that questioning is dangerous, that leaving is impossible. But something feels wrong. You start to notice the contradictions, hypocrisy. And then you realize you were never free to begin with. Stage 1 of a cult is indoctrination. This is just the way it is. You are taught what to believe before you can even think for yourself. It's not a coincidence that most Christian nations have Christian children. Most Muslim nations have Muslim children. Before people were even able to fully formulate thoughts, they're told what to believe, what to think, what's the rules of society. That's programming. But where did they get that programming from? You don't question school. You don't question money. You don't question authority. For example, the Prussian education model was designed to create obedient workers, not independent thinkers. Guess what? This model still exists in modern day schooling today. Think back to when you were a child. Did you ever get in trouble for questioning your teacher? Did you ever feel like school wasn't about learning, it was about following orders? That wasn't an accident. That is the system doing exactly what it was built to do. Stage 2 of being in a cult is programming. Play by the rules and you'll be safe. You enter the workforce and you're immediately buried in debt, responsibility, and fear. You're taught that success means doing what you're told, working hard, never rocking the boat. The rise of debt-based economies, you are given credit before you even understand how money works. Ensure you are a slave to debt for life. Why is financial education never taught in schools? Because debt is control, and control is the foundation of the system. Now, to break free from that, have you ever felt like no matter how hard you work, you never really get ahead? That every raise you get is swallowed up by rising costs? That success just means working harder, longer, for slightly more scraps? That's because you aren't meant to win this game. Stage 3 of a cult is loyalty. Don't question it. You defend your own enslavement because the alternative, admitting you've been fooled, is too painful. People mock conspiracy theories because they're always false, right? But because accepting that the system is rigged means admitting they've been played their entire lives. Ever wonder why people get angry when you question the system? Why they react emotionally instead of logically? Because they have to believe the system works. Because if it doesn't, their entire life has been a lie. Now, people attack the truth when it threatens their worldview. They call it dangerous or irresponsible because change is terrifying. Most people would rather be comfortable in a lie than uncomfortable in the truth. Stage 4 of being in a cult is awakening. Wait, something is wrong. What's wrong? The system eventually betrays everyone. For example, the 2008 financial crisis, people played by the rules, saved their money, bought homes, and still lost everything while billionaires got richer. Every person at some point in their life experiences a moment where the system fails them. They did everything right, and they still lose. They realize that the game was rigged, that no matter how hard they played, the house always wins. Most people ignore that moment. They go back to sleep, but somehow they start to wake up. Stage 5 of being in a cult is escape or submission. In other words, what do I do now? Some fall back asleep, others try to escape, but only a few actually break free. The system has fail-safes, distractions, fear, financial pressure to pull you back in. That's why escaping a cult is so hard, because even when you see the truth, the system makes you want to stay. So right now, there's a part of you that wants to reject this. This guy's crazy. What is he talking about? I'm in a cult. That voice in your head telling you, this is crazy. This is going too far. But ask yourself, where did that voice come from? Is it yours? Or is it that you were trained to think that way? Imagine for a second that everything you were ever taught about life was a lie. Imagine that you don't actually have to work a soul-crushing job for 40 years just to retire at 65 and hope that you live long enough to enjoy it. Imagine that you don't have to live in constant fear fear of losing your job, fear of debt, fear of what people think, fear of stepping outside the lines. Imagine that everything you believed was designed to keep you trapped because it was. Now, here's another thought. The more that you own, the more it owns you. That's the invisible trick they don't want you to see. You think you're working for success, a house, a car, stability, but those things aren't just possessions, they're chains. The house, it locks you up in a mortgage for 30 years. The car, a loan that forces you to keep working just to make the payments. Your job, a contract with golden handcuffs, good enough to keep you from leaving, but never enough to really ever make you free. So if you started to wake up, you might think, why do I spend more time working than living? Good question. Why do I need a degree to get a job, but no one ever taught me how money works? Why do people break the rules? CEOs, politicians, billionaires always seem to come out on top. But before you think too deeply about the system gives you just enough dopamine to keep you numb. A promotion at work, even though you still hate your job. A new phone, even though your old one worked just fine. A vacation, even though you'll spend the whole time dreading going back to work. They don't want you to be free. They want you to be comfortable enough to stay asleep. Now, most people aren't trapped in physical chains. They're trapped in mental chains. Society teaches you to fear freedom, to see it as dangerous, risky, irresponsible. They tell you it's reckless to leave a good job. They tell you that if you don't own a home, you're a failure. They tell you that working 40 hours a week is just how life is. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. You don't have to live this way. Once you wake up, you start to see the cracks in the illusion. You realize the game is rigged, but you don't have to play. You can stop chasing things that don't matter. Start designing a life built around what actually makes you happy. Reject the expectations that were forced upon you. The reason most people never break free isn't because they can't. It's because freedom is scary. The system seduces you back into sleep with the illusion of safety, comfort, and convenience. Just one more promotion and I'll be happy. Once I pay off this debt, then I'll be free. It's too late for me to change now, but those are the lies the system programmed into you to believe. You can wake up. Right now, today. It won't be easy. You will lose things, friends, comfort, certainty. But on the other side of that loss is freedom. Imagine your life without fear. No more begging for permission to live. No more working just to survive. No more fear of what people think. Think about this. If you ever had zero fear, what would life look like? Would you quit your job? Move to another country? Finally start that business? Would you stop living for weekends and actually just start living? Every day you stay in the system, you are paying with your life. The hours you work, the time you never get back, the stress you endure, slowly killing you. The dreams you put off, they die the moment you do. One day, you will take your last breath, and in that moment, will you be grateful you lived? Or will you realize too late that you spent your entire life chasing things that never really mattered? You've probably heard things like this before. Maybe you've even felt like something was wrong about the world, but this time, something is different. This time, you don't just feel it, you see it. And once you see it, there's no going back. Right now, you are at a crossroads. Two choices. One, you forget this. Pretend you never heard it. Go back to the illusion. Convince yourself that this is just a conspiracy. Just another video, just another thought you can ignore. Let's call that the red pill. Or you can take the blue pill. Or you can face the truth. But understand this. The second choice means there's no going back. Once you see the lie, you can never unsee it. That's why waking up is painful. Because everything you built your life on, your beliefs, your routines, your ambitions, were given to you by the system. It wasn't truly your life. So what happens when you do wake up? Waking up isn't just knowing the truth. It's about feeling it and becoming it. At first it hurts. You grieve the version of yourself that played by the rules. You'll feel lost because without the system guiding you, who are you? But maybe for the first time, you can find out. Then comes the second wave of pain. You'll see how deep the lie runs. You'll realize your news was never about truth. It was always about control. You'll realize your education was never about knowledge. It was about obedience. You'll realize your career was never about success. It was about keeping you busy to ask questions. Now, the system will try to pull you back. And here's the most dangerous part. The system doesn't care if you wake up because it knows most people will fall right back asleep. They've mastered that skill. Your friends will tell you that you're crazy. Your family will beg you to be realistic. The system will throw distractions at you, politics, social media, entertainment, anything to keep you from thinking too deeply. Because if enough people wake up, the system collapses. And that is their greatest fear. The worst nightmare of those in power is not one person waking up. It's all of us waking up at the same time, because when enough of us see the game for what it is, the system just doesn't lose. It collapses. Do not fall into the trap of complacency. This is where most people fail. They wake up just enough to recognize the truth, but not enough to change. They understand the system is broken, but they just keep on participating in it. They complain about their jobs, but never look for an alternative. They feel trapped, but never walk away. Why? Because change is hard. Even when you know the game is rigged, it's easier to stay in it than to leave it. It's easier to keep working a bad job than it is to take the risk of doing your own thing. It's easier to keep scrolling through social media than to actually build something. It's easier to tell yourself, maybe one day I'll change, than to actually do it. But every day you wait, you lose time, and time is the only thing you have. This is the most brutal truth of all. Every second you waste waiting to feel ready to live is time you'll never get back. So what will you do? So now it's up to you. You can take the easy road, ignore this, go back to sleep, pretend this never happened. Or you can take the harder path. Start questioning, start seeing, start challenging and changing. But if you choose to wake up, know this: the world will fight to pull you back. Right now, you stand at the edge of a choice. You've had a preview of the truth. You've seen it, perhaps. But here's the hardest part about waking up. It's lonely. When you start to see the world for what it is, you realize how few people actually want to wake up. You'll try to explain what you've learned, and most people will resist. They'll mock you, dismiss you, tell you that you're crazy, because it's easier to stay asleep than to admit that the system is a lie. But you're not alone. That is why I built the Maverick mind. Because if you're going to wake up, you need to know that you're not crazy, you're not alone, you're not powerless. The system wants you to feel isolated. It wants you to believe that resistance is impossible. But when we start thinking for ourselves, questioning everything, and connecting with others who refuse to be controlled, that is how things actually change. This is a beautiful metaphor for this that I think is relevant. Where there is light, there can be no darkness. Right now, the world is full of people trapped in shadows. They've been conditioned to believe that this is just how life is. They think they have no choice but to suffer, obey, and accept the system as it is. But imagine yourself as a candle, enough to light another candle. And from one flame, more candles spread, lighting up even the darkest corners. That's why this message must spread. The system only survives if people stay blind, if people stay distracted, if people stay obedient. So if you see this and you've come this far, it's now your responsibility to start to share it and to become involved. If you've made it this far, you are already different. You're one of the few who made it to the end. That is not an accident. That is a sign. Most people don't even want to think about this stuff. They click away, distract themselves, go back to their routines. But you're still here. The truth is, I can't wake you up. I can only show you the key, and I can point you to the door. But only you can decide to walk through it. Only you can decide to start questioning the rules, breaking free, and reclaiming your life, maybe for the first time. Consider joining me in building this movement. If you're done living as a pawn for someone else's game, if you're ready to see how deep all of this goes, then subscribe to the Maverick Mind. This is just the beginning. I'm going to be going and breaking down many more things. Examples are how the system was built to keep you controlled, the hidden ways they manipulate your mind, how to start reclaiming your time, your energy, and your power. And if you even want to go deeper, join my Patreon to help me build something bigger. This movement isn't about me, it's about us. They want us divided. They want us powerless. But together, we can wake up the world.